Hola, mami. Welcome to Solid 100. I'm your girl, Lizette Soto. Thank you for tuning in to Solid. Listen, I am here to help you build an unshakable life. When ish hits the fan, you gotta know how to stand. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta know how to stand your ground in the things that you believe in and what you're believing for and your values. Okay. So it's important for you to know this. And the reason why is because there have been 2 times in my life where it was very important that I had to learn how to stand my ground when everything was against me. That was 2020, that whole debacle, and then in my divorce. And so the Bible says that when tribulations come, when trials come, and so you are going to have trials, you have free will and you've got to know which way you're going to go. Are you going to lean into God and have him burn the things that are in you that need to come out in order for you to sustain you in the next thing that you're going towards? Or are you going to shrivel up and roll over and pee yourself? You know what I'm saying? I feel that it is my duty to teach things that will help you keep solid or stay solid. And so one of the things, if you have children, this is really an interesting thing to talk about because back in the day, we didn't really know when our parents had problems. I mean, in my family, I didn't know when my mom was going through it or my dad was going through it in their personal relationship, if that makes sense. Like, we didn't know about the adult stuff that was going on. Now, unless you live in the hood, if you grew up in the hood, which I partly grew up in the hood, then you do know the adult stuff that's going on, which is true because I remember learning things in the hood that I probably shouldn't have learned. But then the other side of that is I was raised in the hood with my aunt, but we lived in the suburbs. So we would be taken to my aunt's in the ghetto. It was like Brockton. If you know anything about Brockton, Massachusetts, it's like the ghetto passed it and crapped on it. That's what Brockton's like. So I never say I'm from Brockton. I was like, yeah, I grew up in Boston. But anyway, we didn't know a lot of the things that were happening. Like, we were kids. The kids were kids. And today it's like, when I have conversations with adults, it's weird to me when the kids just jump in and like participate in the conversation, especially if it's an adult conversation that you're having with someone. I'm like, yo, how do you know anything? Go be a kid. Like, how do you know anything that's going on? It's really bizarre to me. And it's just, I don't know if it's like a culture shock thing to me, but in like Hispanic culture, that's not a thing. Like, the kids, they don't, no son metiche, they try to listen to everything, but then like, you're like, go play. But I don't understand this other culture of like all of the kids knowing everything. It's really weird. No, I will say, this is not a mimosa. This is sparkling water with pacha. With passion fruit, just in case you guys get your panties in a wad. So my daughter, one of the things that I want her to grow up, she doesn't know every single thing that happened with my marriage. She didn't even know what was going on for the longest time. She just thought that we had gone on vacation. We went to Puerto Rico, we went on vacation, and then, oh yeah, we're staying. And so, she doesn't know the ins and outs, and she's too young to know the complications of a relationship. However, I do tell her when she's ready, when she asks me, I do kind of avoid. I have been like diverting. I don't know if that's a word. I divert the conversation to another way when she does ask about it. And I found that in the last couple of years, because we did move from Puerto Rico and then we moved from Puerto Rico to Pennsylvania, it's a lot of moving and it's a lot of adjustment. And so it kind of impacted her hard that she had to adjust quickly and that she had questions. And sometimes the questions I didn't have the heart to answer because I don't want to make anybody look bad. I don't want her to see anybody in a different light. And so, it was difficult for me to have to kind of navigate how to have these conversations with her. And they were like every other night, bro. Every other night she'd be crying and she'd be like, I miss so-and-so and I miss so-and-so and I miss this person, I miss that person. And why did you have to break up? Like, she's super into fairy tales and the Disney princess stuff. And it wasn't easy navigating that, trying to make sure that you keep certain people in a good light. And so I managed to do it at some point, and I had to let her know that like it had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with us. And, we both love you very much and blah, blah, blah. And so what I found was with that whole thing is that the reason why she kept going back to that is because I didn't talk enough about what God was doing in the future for us. And so when I caught on to that, I ran with it. And so we made like vision boards, and now granted, the vision boards are awesome, but I also believe that you have to work towards what's on there. You can't just sit around and wait for it. So, and especially it has to line up with God's word, that, you know what I mean? That the stuff that's on there. And so, we made vision boards and we started talking about all the time about the vision that the Lord has for us, for our lives. And so in my mind, I know that he's going to give us a navy blue house. He's going to give us an amazing home. When I was ready to accept the fact that I was living in Pittsburgh, because I thought this was just a stepping stone and I was okay living in this apartment. And now I'm just kind of like, I need a bigger kitchen. I like to cook. I need a bigger kitchen. I need some laundry. Like I'm getting going out to do my laundry is getting old. And so, now we're starting to establish roots here. We have a great community, a great church community, great friends, great school. And so, I have to paint the picture for her, and it snapped her out immediately. And so when I painted the picture of like our goals, okay, this is what our home is going to be like. What do you want in your room? Oh, I want a checkered floor. Okay, cool. All right. How many, do you want horses? Do you want a dog? And then we start talking about the dream, and immediately she snaps out of what happened before, or like what we don't have, which the only thing we don't have is a man. Like we literally have everything. And so, not to demean the man thing, but like I have peace, so I'm not in a rush. But that's the only thing that we don't have. And to her, that is like the culmination of like fulfillment, is to have a husband. And so she sees her dad moving on, and then she gets emotional. And then I'm like, but you know what? God's bringing us a great stepdad, and you can call him Pops if you want. And he's going to be nice and tall. He's going to be handsome. He's going to love kids. Maybe we'll have a little girl that you can grow up with, and you just start like spinning the dream and you start putting it. And then she gets so excited. And sometimes as adults, we forget to do this for ourselves. And we can get so caught up in the American, and I say American like day to day because I feel like living in the States is a hustle and a half, bro. And it's not because I'm a single mom. It's just because I just feel like that's how it was when I was married too. It was like, boom, there was always something to go to. There was always, everything was rushed. There was always like, we got to go here, we got to go there. And then living on the island was like very laid back, and it was annoying, at times, because the government there it's just not organized. It's just not an organized place to live. But if you have that develop the island mentality, it's a beautiful, no rush place to be. And it's kind of just like, it's just a better way of living, I feel like. You just have better food, better people around you. And so, living here, everything is just like go, 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 go all the time. And we have to make even a bigger effort in really going back every day and going like, okay, and saying to ourselves, what am I standing on? What am I believing God for? What are my dreams? Am I working towards that? Where's the fulfillment in that? What's the expansion of the kingdom look like? Where's my place in that? And so you have to look at like lo mahaya. You can't be so short-sighted in wrapped up in what you're doing today, because ultimately that can exhaust you and it can discourage you from like everything that's being thrown at you every single day. And so I want to talk to you about the importance of keeping your God-given dreams visible and alive. Life has a way of distracting us with responsibilities and setbacks and delays. But when we lose sight of the vision, we often lose sight of the motivation to pursue it. I'll find myself, if I don't have the vision in front of me, like if I know my vision for the summer is Jesus, gym, getting organized, like getting re-beautified again. So like I have these goals, but if I come home and I'm exhausted from a day and I just plop down on the couch, chances are I'm not going to get up from there for a while. And I also have business goals, and I'm also working with another business right now as well. And so like I have all these moving pieces, and if I don't keep the vision in front of me, I become super short-sighted and I forget about that God's intention of not losing the motivation to pursue the dreams that he has instilled inside of us. He never intended for us to simply receive a dream and just forget about it. That's not the point. That's not why he puts those desires in our heart. Throughout the scripture, he encourages his people to write the vision, like in Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision and make it plain. Remember his promises and stay focused on what he has spoken, especially the things that he has spoken over your life through other people, through those prophecies and those promises. What I learned with my daughter is that it's not just a one-time thing. Like you just don't go over your goals and say, okay, these are my goals for the year. You actually have to do it every day. And I do it with her every day because she's a little kid. Like family animals that have died throughout time. For some reason, my brother brings home all of his his ex-girlfriend's animals, and my mom ends up taking care of all of them until they die. And then she complains about it. And what's funny is she's always like, "Yo no quiero animales aquí, yo no quiero animales aquí," and she's saying, "I don't want animals here." And one will die, and then all of a sudden two will come from my brother. And I told my mom, on your tombstone when you die, I'm gonna put "Yo no quiero animales aquí." I don't want animals here because that's all she says. But I don't even know why I brought that. Why did I bring that up? Oh yeah, so my daughter really loves these animals, and she kind of grew up with them and sees them every vacation or whatever. And so she is sad that they are in heaven. And so one day she wanted to print out pictures of all of the animals that died and put them on her wall. And I'm like, whoa. This is a house of joy. We're not going to put depressing pictures of animals. It's one of the reasons why I don't put pictures up of my parents or like my family or like of Puerto Rico, because it would make me sad that I'm not there. And so I don't do that. I call them every other day, but I don't put like huge pictures up of the family because I'll miss them. I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea for you to put these pictures up of these dogs because it's going to keep you in that sad mindset. No, it's fine. They're going to make me happy. So one day all of her friends came over from church, and there's probably like 3 or 4 of them here, and they're all playing in her room. And all of a sudden I start hearing crying and crying and crying. And eventually I'm like chill about it. And I go in there, and one of the kids comes out and they're like, "Isabella's upset about her dog." And I'm like, "What?" And I go in there and I'm like, "What's going on?" And she's in her closet crying hysterically. And I'm like, "What's going on?" And one of the other moms comes in, God bless her, and she's trying to soothe her. She's like, "It's okay. The dogs are in heaven." And she just starts freaking out even more. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm going to see that. It's going to take forever." She just starts screaming. So I go in there, get up, let's go in my room. So we go in my room, like, ¿Qué tú haces? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, "I'm just so sad that the dogs died." And I'm like, "Isabella, what are you doing?" And I was like, "You have people here, man." And she was like, "I know." And I'm like, we cannot behave this way. You cannot lose your crap when a sad thought comes into your head. And then I had a teacher, you need to exercise self-control over your emotions. Do you know what that is? And I turned it into a lesson. And I told her, we are not losing it anytime that we get sad. When you get sad, you have to tell your brain, hey, I'm sad right now, but I'm not going to cry right now. I'll cry later. I'm like, you've got to these kids, don't you want them to come back? They're going to think you're freaking nuts. And she was just like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, stop, dry those tears up, go wash your face and get it together. She was like, okay. And I'm like, you're going to see those animals in heaven. This is why we don't put the pictures up, man. This is why we don't put them up. And she's like, okay, Mom, okay. And I'm like, take a deep breath. I'll pray with you. Lord, take this, whatever this is in Isabella, give her self-control, have her control her thoughts. These things are in heaven. She'll see them again. Go play with your friends. She's like, oh, okay, okay. Like nothing. She left like nothing happened and she started playing. Mientras tanto, there was another kid. Meanwhile, there was another little kid who was here who was also, she also made him cry because he was so sad for her. He was so sweet. He was like, I'm just sad that Isabella's sad. And I'm like, are we going to stop crying? Like, why are we crying right now? And I'm like, Isabella, this is why we cannot have these pictures up because they make you sad. I'm like, you need to exercise self-control, not only in here, but also in the external, the things that remind you of the sadness. You need to remove them. Why are you going to keep them? It doesn't make any sense. So this is exactly why you don't see, there's no pictures here. This is a picture that my daughter drew when we were in Puerto Rico. She drew it on the back of my dresser because I was sleeping in my kitchen and the dresser was like the barrier from the kitchen to my bed. And she drew it in chalk, in like white chalk. And she said, Mommy, this is going to be me and you in Pittsburgh worshiping the Lord. And this is us today in Pittsburgh worshiping the Lord. That's what I have up there. I don't have pictures of like people that we miss and dead animals. We're not doing that, bro. Absolutely not. We're putting the vision in front of us. Do you know what I'm saying? Let's go over some of these points. Number one, what you constantly see influences what you pursue. When your dream is visible, your actions begin to align with your vision. Put your goals where you can see them daily, not dead animals. Put your goals in front of you so you can see them daily. Delayed doesn't mean denied. Many God-given dreams take time to develop. Don't mistake a season of waiting for a season of rejection. Dreams take time to develop because you are developing. You are the one that's taking action, and you're the one that is removing the things that you don't need. My pastor said this Wednesday, you're removing the things that you're asking God to remove the things in you in order to get rid of those things, to burn them off so that you can receive what you can be ready to receive what the Lord has for you. In that time of waiting, it's really a time for you to be actively preparing for what's coming. And if you're just sitting around crying over dead dogs, it's not going to help you. You need to be actively working towards what you're believing for and what has been prophesied over you. A lot of people get a word from the Lord and then they sit around for years and they wait for it and they don't take any action towards it. There's a difference between being disciplined and the action that God has given you that moves you towards that prophecy, and a difference between just sitting around and just waiting for it. Like it's going to just show up on your door. It's going to knock. Somebody's going to knock on your door and give it to you. You're not going to be prepared for it. You're not going to be able to sustain it. Revisit God's promises often. Read your journal entries, your vision board, your prayers, your prophetic words. Remind yourself of what God has spoken. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who came for Radiance, which was our women's conference, and Russell Johnson spoke at it, and it was the best talk. And he talked about how the Lord gave the best way to receive anything is like how when Jesus thanked God for the bread before he broke it, and he just said thank you. Or like before he served the multitudes, he turned the fish and the bread into like tons of fish and bread. So like all he did was say thank you, Lord, before it multiplied. And so Russell went around and he laid hands on everyone, and my friend was next to me and she recorded him. Like, she took her phone and pressed record and put it under her armpit. And so he grabbed both of our hands and said a word over us, but I didn't really hear it and she did. And so I was going through some kind of a difficulty last week, and she goes, dude, remember the prophecy that Russell, he spoke it both over us, and it was about increase. And I was like, I don't remember that. And she sent me the recording. It's important that, and I listened to it and I'm like, yes, that's right. And if I don't listen to that, the work that I have already put towards the steps that God has ordered me to take to fulfill that prophecy, I'm going to think that it's in vain if I don't have that word in front of me. I'm going to think that I'm doing all of this for nothing if I don't constantly have the word of God in front of me, if I don't have the vision boards in front of me, if I don't have the goals, the prayers, the prophetic words in front of me. I'm going to think that you can get so wrapped up in doing all of the work and trying to get there quickly that you forget that was the word that was spoken over your life. Do not get weary in well-doing. Do not get weary in well-doing. Keep those promises in front of you often, every day. Review them. Protect your dream from negativity. Not everybody needs access to your vision. Share it with people who will encourage your faith, not feed your fear. This is really important because you don't want to share information with people who are going to be like, wow, that's too much. You're really believing for that? Can you actually do that in the natural? No, the point is that I can't do it in the natural, and that it proves that God is God. It proves that he's supposed to be doing things that I can't do in the natural. So that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the Lord. You've got to be careful about not only who you're spending time with, but who you're sharing things with, because you don't know if somebody's going to try and plant that seed of doubt in you. There was somebody that had planted a seed of doubt in me, and I don't remember what it was for, but I remember, I believe, so the Lord gave me this apartment and in this town. This is like the nicest town in Pittsburgh. And I remember one day my neighbor was like in a mood, and he was just like, I hate this crappy apartment. Mind you, I don't spend any time with him. He's just like in passing. Oh, this crappy apartment, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, is this apartment crappy? And then I started to find things that were crappy about it. And I'm like, this is a crappy apartment. And I allowed that seed to come into me when the Lord gave it to me. And I'm like, but my apartment's awesome. It's small. I can have maintenance come in whenever. I don't have to clean all day. To me, those things are awesome. Even though other people are like, wow, our apartment's small. I could give a rip because I've lived in a huge house before with a huge yard, and I'd had to do the landscaping, and it took me all day to clean the house. And it's a blessing, but it's also work. It's a lot of work that I don't need right now because I'm busy providing. So I allowed that seed to get into me, and I was just like, why am I even listening to you? Why are you even talking to me? You know what I'm saying? You've got to protect your dream from negativity. Take daily steps toward the dream. Dreams become reality through consistent obedience. Small actions compound over time, and we've been talking about that all up in these shows. And they create significant results. Proverbs 28:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Listen, I talk about this all the time, but I was talking to a guy a couple months ago, and he was like a 10 all the way around, up until I got to know his vision. And then I realized this man does not have vision. And I'm like, you lost me. I can't even relate on this. He had very, the things that you could pick it up in the conversation and the way that people say things, in the limitation or their capacity. You can tell where there is vision and where there isn't any vision. And that doesn't make you a 10 anymore when there's no vision. Philippians 3:13-14, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heaven. So listen, If you don't keep the dream in front of you, life will put distractions in front of you. What you focus on grows, and what you forget often fades. So keep the dream in front of you. Ask the Lord. You're like, man, I don't even really have a dream right now. I'm just like living paycheck. I'm just trying to pay my bills right now. That's great, but you've got to learn to work towards something. And everybody has the same amount of time in the day. You can wake up earlier, you go to bed later, to fulfill everything that you need to fulfill, to take care of all of the things that you need to take care of. Do you know what I'm saying? Because life is more than just paying bills. There's a calling upon your life, and you need to figure out what that is and work towards it and keep it in front of you. I love you. Have a great Friday night. Nos vemos mañana. Bye.